Well, let's get more now on that and much more. Joining us now is the man who negotiated this deal. Howard Lutnick is the U.S. Secretary of Commerce. Secretary Lutnick, thank you very much for joining us. Congratulations on the deal. It certainly is a big one. You might have heard some of the news that Christina and Kelly and I were just discussing. As part of this deal, have you gotten commitments from Taiwan Semiconductor, the company, that they will expand that already expanding facility that you and I sat down in 6 months ago?
Exactly. So they just bought hundreds of acres adjacent to their property. Now, I'm going to let them go through it with their board and give them time. But of the $250 billion of commitment that is directly from companies. So basically, there's two commitments from Taiwan. There's $250 billion that comes directly from companies, and then there's $250 billion supplied by the government to help their smaller and medium-sized companies and bring that whole supply chain to America. So we're going to bring it all over so we become self-sufficient in the capacity of building semiconductors. This is exactly what Donald Trump said he was going to do, and he is doing it today. $250 billion and $250 billion. This is the kind of scale that Donald Trump operates in.
So it sounds like the number, I'm not a math whiz like you probably are, Mr. Secretary, but that's $500 billion. I know a lot of that, obviously, is going to go to this Arizona facility that Christina and I were talking about. You've been to, obviously, we were together. Do you expect there will be other investments in the United States made as part of that 250 plus 250?
So what we did is we gave Taiwan $100 billion credit because TSMC came in with that $100 billion in 2025 with the Trump administration. So that's 100 towards the 250. Now I expect TSMC to come in huge, bigger. You've seen reports that possibly doubling in size in America, right? So that's TSMC. But then we have the rest of the supply chain of semiconductors, everything. You have to remember, like, each chip has a translator in it, right? What connects the power to the chip? What connects the chip to what you see on your screen, right? All those bits and parts, they all need to come here. And so we're going to have hundreds of companies coming here. We're going to build giant semiconductor industrial parks in America, and we are going to bring semiconductors home to America. That's what this is. This is a $500 billion down payment on let's bring those semiconductors home.
So let's talk about what Taiwan gets. So we're getting this investment. We're getting a commitment from not only Taiwan Semi and their companies, but to your point, the Taiwanese government itself. So both are making agreements. It sounds like what they're getting is a reduction of that reciprocal tariff rate, 20% to 15%. In some cases, if it's an aircraft part, if it's certain generic drugs, that goes to zero. Is that the win that Taiwan will get and want to promote in their nation, and we get the investment in semiconductors? And to your point, Mr. Secretary, this expected build out, not just in Arizona, but across the country.
So it's a couple of fold. Exactly what you've said. They go from 20% to 15%. They get generic pharmaceuticals, airplane parts, things that, we're very accommodating for because we want those things to come in tariff-free. Unavailable natural resources, to the extent they grow something that we don't grow here, that won't come with a tariff. But then there's semiconductors. It goes like this. If they commit to build in America, they can bring in their semiconductors during the time that they're building in America without a tariff. That is special for them, right? They can build here. If we, at the Department of Commerce, if we approve their plan, they can then bring in semiconductors of 2.5 times that amount. So if they build 1 million, let's say, wafers, they can bring in 2.5 million wafers while they're building in America. So the objective is to bring 40% of Taiwan's entire supply chain and production to domestically bring it into America. Wow. And here's the goal: during President Trump's term. This is fire right now. This is it. We're going to break ground. We're going to be building here. These people have committed to try to build this full infrastructure and do it now in America. So that's what they get. If they don't build in America, the tariff's likely to be 100%.
If they don't build here, the tariff is likely to be 100%. So there's sort of the stick, not the carrot. In the room, the negotiations, which you literally just left, Mr. Secretary, is there any acknowledgement or discussion by Taiwan? I'm sure it's come up on our end, but on their end, because the country across the sea, we'll call them Chinese Taipei, of security issues that they recognize it's helpful for everybody to have a less concentrated semiconductor industry in their nation, given some of the aggressive tactics we have seen around China?
Exactly. Look, they need to keep our president happy, right? Because our president is the key to protecting their country. So they need to make him happy. So if you say, why would they do this? What? I mean, that is a gigantic commitment to onshoring in America. And the answer is because Donald Trump is vital to protecting them. And so they want to keep our president happy, right? They want to keep the relationship between our two countries very positive. And this commitment to bring it onshore. We need semiconductors for our national security. We need them built in America. We can't rely on a country that's 9,000 miles away from us to deliver us these kind of fundamental national security products. Yeah. So we're bringing it here. This is what Donald Trump promised, and this is exactly what we're focused on delivering.
Mr. Secretary, it's Kelly here. I appreciate, if you don't mind, I jump in. I can't help but think while you announce this, what China must be thinking, not just with this Taiwan announcement, but also the 25% tariff on any country that's doing business with Iran, the way in which the Venezuela oil supply, perhaps that they had been counting on as repayment for loans, is now being rerouted. In other words, if they interpret this as a bold move against them, what would you say about that? Is that part of the intention, and what are we prepared for in response?
No, this move is really exactly what Donald Trump ran on and what he's delivering, which is we need to reshore semiconductors. This will bring hundreds of thousands of great jobs to America, and it's fundamental to our national security. You know, Donald Trump has a very strong personal relationship with President Xi, and he is the driver of the relationship between China and the United States. It's in Donald Trump's hands.
Right.
He knows how to play his hand the best of anybody in the world. So this is just fundamental to America.
Understood.
We need to make our own chips.
Should we still anticipate then, or as this is all taking place, that there's still a meeting between the two leaders, in which we understand the president doesn't want to turn the temperature up maybe too high before that meeting. Maybe that's a chance to turn the temperature back down.
Yeah, so my understanding so far is that the president's planning to go to China in the month of April. That's been discussed broadly. And I think that's still on, and we're very excited about the prospects of the two leaders meeting and talking. They have an excellent relationship. They talk on the phone. They make sure they understand each other and that the outcomes are the best. Obviously, Donald Trump is focused on the best outcomes for the United States. That's why he makes each chess move that he makes is well considered, and it's been very impressive. I mean, look at our economy. I think we're going to grow over 5% in the first quarter of 2026. I mean, Donald Trump is delivering for the American people. He's delivering growth. He's delivering jobs. We're delivering exactly what he promised. And that's what's so fun about being part of his administration.
You think we'll get 5% growth? I mean, you're a former bond trader. You ran a bond investment company. 5% growth, that's a pretty big number, Mr. Secretary.
So if you think about it, for all those years, everybody always said the world grows like just below 2%, and the U.S. grows just above 2%. And we were sort of in that, this sort of boring world. Well, Donald Trump said, America is the greatest economy on earth, $30 trillion economy. And if we stop exporting all the power and letting everybody else sell to us while we can't sell to them, then that exports our economy and picks up the rest of the world. We need to make America great. And what's he doing? He's cutting imports, expanding exports, and my prediction, over 5% in the first quarter of 2026 for the greatest economy in the world, having the greatest growth in the world, and you only get that by putting Donald Trump in the Oval Office.
Mr. Secretary, one problem on the market's mind that we're hearing about lately is the fact that it might be too strong. In other words, I don't know if you've seen this, JP Morgan is now calling for no more rate cuts this year and think we should get a rate hike next year. And Larry Lindsey, who I'm sure you're familiar with, has actually said the same thing, that Fed policy is a little accommodative right now. So, look, I don't know if we're ready for a moment in which the Fed chair might have to stand up and tell the president and the public, hey, things are going so well that we might have to hike rates at a time that the president's obviously been pushing quite hard on them to do the opposite.
So this is what the president talks about. He talks about if inflation is below 3%, right? It's running 2.7%, and we're growing. Why do rates have to be high? Why is this that if we're winning, the Fed should make us losers? And if we're losing, then the Fed should be winner. That's, you know what that is? That's the definition of mediocrity. Donald Trump is here to make America great, and America can be great. Housing requires lower interest rates. You want to make things affordable? Bring interest rates down. So I think the economy can grow at low inflation. Right? Our productivity is flying off the shelves. Americans are more productive now, more valuable than ever before.
They are.
And therefore, we're not seeing inflation, so we can have lower rates and we can have growth. I think we can have both. And with both, America will be the best, most amazing economy ever. We will include all Americans. It will be
We're quibbling over basis points here,
like Donald Trump says.
I think JP Morgan said 3.1 on core PCE. So I hear what you're saying. He says if it's below 3%, we can cut rates, and maybe they're saying 3.1% and we can't. We're close. We're close to that area where I think everyone agrees maybe 3% is still too high.
Well, everybody forgets about the fact that the Fed is running down their balance sheet. So they're tightening, right? Every month, the Fed doesn't buy bonds that they used to buy and sucks that money out of the economy. The Fed is by running off their balance sheet, is tightening. They've got plenty of room to cut rates. They've got the room to cut rates, and that's what Donald Trump talks about. Don't make it so when we're winning, the Fed thinks you got to be a loser. That's just not true. Donald Trump understands if there's not inflation, the greatest economy in the world, doesn't have to have the highest interest rates in the world. It's ridiculous that we're in the 4s and everyone else in the world is in the 2s.
Do you have a preference on who the next chair of the Federal Reserve will be, Mr. Secretary?
My favorite part of this job is in the hands of Donald Trump. He's got great choices in front of him. I'm sure he's going to make the right choice. He gets my advice, but he's going to make the call.
I want to ask you just quickly again about Iran, because China is such a huge... Listen, markets are up today, by the way. Small caps up 1.5%. The S&P's up again. New record highs for small and mid caps. The markets just keep ripping. Love to get your take on anything with the markets or bonds, but also just to be clear, are you worried that this deal at all or the potential tariff on Iran is going to disrupt those China trade talks?
No. See, here's how the world looks at it. When America is shining, when the light of America is shining, the world's stock markets rally, right? All the experts said, if you put all these tariffs on the rest of the world, their stock market's going to be in trouble. They're all up. All of them are up because they know when the shining light of America is bright and powerful, the world wins. Donald Trump is making sure America wins, and we're lifting the rest of the world with us. Go look at the rest of the world's stock markets. We're hitting new highs, and so is the rest of the world. Donald Trump is driving the right outcomes for this world, and we're doing the things that he wants to do. He promised we'd reshore semiconductors. We have to reshore semiconductors. This is fundamental to where America goes, and I'm excited to be a part of it.
Last question. 10-year yield, 4.15. Again, going back to your bond. Listen, Mr. Secretary, we interviewed a ton when you were the bond guy. Now you're the Commerce Secretary. Put on your bond hat. Where should a mortgage be right now if you were in charge?
So mortgages, I mean, think about it. Mortgages just dropped below 6%, right? And the housing market had the best refi week in decades, and it had the most people visiting houses in decades when interest rates of mortgages dropped below 6%. Donald Trump said, let's go buy mortgages, drop the rate below 6%, and you immediately got demand. I think rates in the United States of America are coming down. They should be lower. It'll make housing more affordable. Bring rates down and watch America thrive and grow. We're at 5% now, and if you don't think we can be bigger, you're not listening to Donald Trump. We can.
大家好，我是主播周玉琴。很多的朋友告诉我们，太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌帮助了睡眠品质。原版的太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌，它添加有超级食物羽衣甘蓝，健康再加分。而有睡眠困扰的朋友们，赶快选择蓝色包装这一款晚安加强版，绝对是更有感。每日克菲尔，时刻美好 ，Good Feel Good。请上快点购为健康下单，而且要记得输入推荐代码，有额外的折扣优惠。太阳星全效克菲尔益生菌基础版、晚安加强版新包装改版，内容不变，抽取更方便。要吃就吃最好的。